We've had 5 rounds of the R&G British Talent Cup so far in 2023. This was last time out at Snetterton, and you can see that the riders started the race in frenetic fashion, as they always seemingly do. It was Julian Correa who managed to get the advantage at the first corner. Emmanuel Brinton keeping him certainly very honest in the first couple of sectors, as well as Evan Belford, who was a man on the charge starting on pole position, and you wondered as to whether he would be able to bring the fight to the front. Harrison Desoy very much in the mix in the early stages as well on the Microlite's Cresswell racing machine, as we saw Emmanuel Brinton making some moves. Harley McCabe on board the blue and green at number 7 was up and involved in the mix, as well as Sullivan Mounsey. It was a fantastic battle at the sharp end of the field, and the question for who was going to take the final spot on the podium came down to Julian Correa versus Harley McCabe in the closing stages of the race. This is Harrison Desoy, who went through on the inside but then high-sided in spectacular fashion and ended up out of the race. It was Evan Belford who took a clean sweep, and then the battle for the final place on the podium, it was McCabe versus Correa as they dragged to the timing line. Julian Correa got his first podium of the season on board the Microlite's Cresswell Racing Honda. Well, welcome along to Brands Hatch here this afternoon for race 1 of the R&G British Talent Cup. You can see it is wet. Track conditions certainly not ideal for the riders. A lot of lack of adhesion out there, especially for Scott McPhee, who was set to line up on the outside of the second row of the grid in 6th place. But you can see a vacant space, and here is why. Crashed on the sighting lap out of Surtees on his way to the grid. The bike into the barrier in a very hard way. Scott up and okay, thankfully, following that one. But the upshot is that he will not be taking to the grid ahead of race 1 here this afternoon, Neil.
Yeah, and so easily done. These guys go out there, they've got the full Dunlop wet tyres on, they've got the soft suspension settings dialed in, but the tyres are not quite up to temperature on that sighting lap. That corner is arguably the trickiest corner on the racetrack in these conditions. They head up the hill there, they're rolling on the throttle. These guys have got really narrow tyres, so they've got less grip than the big boys out there, or the guys in the bigger classes. So easily done. Just get caught out. It probably wasn't just settled on the bike as well, maybe not hanging off enough. So gutted for Scott there. He's come a long way to not start this one. Looks like he was okay. He'll get another chance tomorrow.
There's Emmanuel Brinton lining up in the middle of the front row. Slightly different look to his bike this weekend. He's used to riding a black machine. He's now on white fairings on that one, with Evan Belford lining up on pole position once again on board the number 52. That's his 4th of the season. See what he's going to be able to do. The riders then lined up on the grid and ready to go on their warm-up laps here at Brands Hatch. Wet conditions making things a big challenge for the riders. Here is the man who was on top form, fresh off the back of a double victory at Snetterton just a couple of weeks ago. He is absolutely fantastic. With a 62-point advantage in the championship is Evan Belford. Let's see what he is going to be able to do from the start of the field. But looks like problems here for Ryan Frost. He was due to line up in the middle of the second row of the grid. We saw Scott McPhee's bike stricken on the outside of the circuit with a crash on the sighting lap, meaning he wouldn't be starting with the grid. And the man who was due to line up alongside him, Ryan Frost, looks like a technical problem, means he's going to be from pit lane here.
Well, yeah, he will. If he can join on the back of these as they head round on the warm-up laps, then he can start at the back of the grid. Otherwise, he will be starting for the pit lane. I'm not sure what happened there, unless he just stalled the bike or they were unable to get it going. So, yeah, disaster there. Just noticed Evan Belford there, the man in pole position and championship leader. This will be a great test for him, because you have to be an all-round rider, you have to do it in the wet and the dry. He's leading the championship. He's been very confident this year in dry conditions, so this is another test for him. But he looks like he's got things covered there. Sean Ride, Kyle Ride's dad, he's chief mechanic there, looking after him on the grid as he starts for pole position and does his 2 warm-up laps.
Yeah, well, the riders then, making their way round on this warm-up. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Evan Belford had just over 30 points going into Snetterton a couple of weeks ago. Increased that with a double victory up to 62 points, aided by Emmanuel Brinton's DNF in the second race. Julian Correa, fresh off the back of a podium finish at Snetterton for him. A double podium finish, as a matter of fact, for the American rider. Now up into 3rd place in the standings as well, just ahead of Harley McCabe, with Sullivan Mounsey trailing on 85 points following a challenge challenging weekend for the number 4. Let's hope he can turn that around here this afternoon. But here is the grid then for race 1 of the R&G British Talent Cup. It's Evan Belford on pole position with Emmanuel Brinton and Harley McCabe alongside. Row 2 will be Harrison Desoy all on his own, with Ryan Frost now starting from pit lane. Scott McPhee not taken to the grid after crashing on the sighting lap. Row 3, Ollie Walker, Sullivan Mounsey and Philip Sorowiak. Row 4 of the grid is Rhys Stevenson with Lucas Brown and Ronnie Harris. Then Ben Jalif with Eli Banish and Julian Correa on row 5. 6th row is Harrison Mackay with Josh Bannister and Peter Willis. Row 7, Charlie Huntingford, Alexander Rowan, who was especially impressive in the wet last time out at Snetterton with Clayton Edmonds for company. Then row 8 is Dan Goodman, Sislav Pelpenko, and then the number 11 of Ewan Jones. Row 9, the last row of the grid, is the number 28 of Charlie Barnes with George Bowles and Alfie Davidson, a rider who was also in good form in the wet conditions at Snetterton. Opportunity knocks for a few riders here, Neil.
It certainly does, and it sometimes brings wet weather specialists into their own, give them that chance of a result, or maybe some of the bigger, heavier riders that struggle with their power to weight in the normal dry conditions. It's a great leveler of the wet conditions, and yeah, it might just get a bit of an upset in some of the results. Evan Belford as well, and a number of the riders have got this yellow tinted visor, and more commonly known as a happy visor, because it makes everything nice and bright, almost like it's sunny out there. So he's got it all covered. He's got his wet jacket on there and he's ready to go. He's certainly looking confident.
Yeah, the rain seeming to peak and trough here. It was coming down with a fair degree of intensity about 5 minutes or so ago. If anything, it looks a little bit bright here, and like the rain is slightly beginning to ease off.
That's right, and less standing water, but the Dunlop wet tyres will go the distance, whatever the conditions.
Well, green flag is waved at the back. Red lights are on then. 14 laps of R&G British Talent Cup action here at Brands Hatch, underway with Evan Belford getting an absolutely fantastic start. Sullivan Mounsey going to the inside at the first corner and up through from the 3rd row of the grid, the middle of the 3rd row of the grid, into 2nd place. So a superb start for Sullivan on this one, and challenging Belford for the lead, as well as Harley McCabe. Up the inside they go through into Druids Bend. So it's now going to be Sullivan Mounsey who leads from Harley McCabe, from Evan Belford. Quite a fantastic couple of corners by riders who are a bit further back.
You could do a lot worse and let things settle down, but you get riders that are ultra confident in these conditions. Mounsey and McCabe look like two at this point in time, and yeah, why not? If you can get away in the front, nice clear track, no spray on your visor, it's definitely the future if you can do that.
Lucas Brown also with a great start. He's now up into 3rd place ahead of Evan Belford, who looks like he's struggling in the wet conditions. We understand he's not particularly a big fan of the wet weather, and that could prove to be his downfall here this afternoon after such a strong weekend at Snetterton just a fortnight ago.
Yeah, very healthy championship lead, and I'm sure he's aware that he wants to, might be damage limitations if he's not quite as confident. But of course, any riders that are trying to grab the big points and they've got nothing to lose, then they got their heads down and they're going for it.
Is that Alexander Rowan up from 20th on the grid on board the number 65? He is now, yeah, in 5th place. What a fantastic start to the race for Alexander Rowan. He was really quick in the wet conditions that we had at the start of race 2 at Snetterton. He's just gone up the inside of Lucas Brown and through into 4th as well. This is quite fantastic here from Alexander Rowan. He could be on for, it's early days I know, but he could be on for a bit of a podium battle here.
That's right, and that's exactly what we're talking about, riders that just excel in these conditions. I can tell he's got some really nice, the number 65, some really nice soft suspension settings in there. There's a lot of weight transfer going on onto the front and the rear. That will be giving them confidence, getting more temperature in the tyres, giving them lots of fuel, especially from the front. And what a first lap, second lap.
Yeah, he's leading the way very nicely there on board the number 65. We've got a rider that's gone down. That's one of the Microlights Crestwell racing machines. And unfortunately, it's the number 88 of Sislav Pelpenko who's ended up in the gravel trap. That looks like it's a Clearways. Thankfully, he's up and okay and being attended to by the marshals, and the motorcycle being brought away as well.
Yeah, you see him in the middle of the... Oh, no, coming into the picture, that was another Crestwell machine. Yeah, maybe top to front, just on the brakes there. Runoff been extended there a couple of years ago, so loads of space if you do happen to make a mistake.
Sullivan Mounsey leading this one then from Harley McCabe, who's getting a little bit squirrely there. Lucas Brown to the inside of Alexander Rowan at Surtees. The 29 is through and up now into 3rd place. The good thing is they've got a little bit of a buffer here between themselves and Evan Belford's. What's that? 1.1, 1.2 seconds or so between them. So they can afford to have a little squabble between the two of them here.
Yeah, just got to keep things nice and clean.
Yeah, just got to keep an eye on Evan Belford behind, Philip Soroviak as well, not too far away. Alfie Davidson, he was right at the back of the field, 27th on the grid. He's now up inside the top 10. So there's definitely a few wet weather specialists, because Davidson was, again, a rider who was very impressive in the second race at Snetterton a couple of weeks ago. Where was he? 9th place he finished at the checkered flag. His best result of 2023 so far. And he's all over the back of Philip Soroviak like a bad rash here, trying to find his way through in the middle sector.
How did Alexander Rowan go from 20th to 3rd in 2 laps? Very, very impressive. Rider of the race so far for me.
Oh, flirting with the curbs there is Davidson, isn't he?
Yeah, that's fine if you got the bike up right, but a little bit lean angle either over that white paint, or especially the red and white paint, can end in disaster.
Julian Correa just keeping a watching brief on proceedings. Ollie Walker now back on form after challenging Snetterton a couple of weeks ago. Meanwhile, in this battle for 3rd, it's Lucas Brown looking to the inside of Alexander Rowan. He goes through at Paddock Hill Bend. Does he get the bike stopped? Yes, he does. Runs it slightly wide.
Yeah, nice quick cut back there for Alexander Rowan up into Druids.
I was wincing there because Lucas Brown was just on the curve on the exit of the corner. We've seen a few riders in other categories flirting with that here so far this afternoon. And, well, you've got to be so careful about getting on the power, haven't you?
You certainly do. Get her up right. But these, of course, don't have a lot of power, so you definitely have to try and maximise your corner speed, but you just have to be so careful with the throttle. The tyres are thinner. As I said, the wheel rims are quite narrow, so the maximum lean angle, you don't have a lot of contact patch out there.
Meanwhile, back at the front, still Sullivan Mounsey, who's got about 6 or 7 tenths over Harley McCabe. In fact, that gap has come down to about 4 tenths of a second, with McCabe just half a tenth or so quicker than Mounsey last time around as well. So it looks like he is beginning to find his rhythm and find his feet. Evan Belford still sitting there in 5th place. He's managed to get the likes of Alfie Davidson, Julian Correa, Ollie Walker, who are all battling toe-to-toe with one another. That's the yellow machine of Josh Bannister. And Bannister is just outside of the points. He's got Harrison Mackay in there, Dan Goodman as well. A right squabble of riders, but crucially there, Harrison Desoy on board the number 55. He was 4th on the grid. He's now outside the points, just on the fringes of the top 20.
Uncharacteristically, a long way back. There's lots of little battles going on all the way through here. I've got to say, Evan Belford, that is a championship winning finish. If he sometimes just got to bring it home, and top 5 is okay when the conditions change like this. At the moment, Mounsey and McCabe are not championship threats, so he just has to grab solid points. Damage limitation is what he wants to be doing today.
Yeah, just saw the number 66 there in the mix as well. That was Ronnie Harris, Clayton Edmonds as well. Clayton Edmonds not running the usual red RS Racing fairings that we're used to seeing. Looks like he's on a white shod machine, so whether he's had an off in practice or qualifying and they've just stuck a set of spare fairings on the bike, I'm not 100% sure. But either way, just looking a little bit different out there on track if you're trying to spot the likes of Clayton Edmonds and Ronnie Harris. Meanwhile, back at the front, lap 4 out of 12 we're on. It's Sullivan Mounsey who's looking pretty calm and confident. And this is really impressive actually here from Mounsey, because we haven't seen riders in the wet properly so far in 2023, but Mounsey's been quick in the dry so far this year, and now he's quick when the track gets wet.
Both these guys looking very, very confident. They're not holding back at all. You can see them trying to stretch the knee out. They've got the wet knee sliders on there extra thick, so they can get their knee down a little bit without less lean out, without carrying so much lean angle in these wet conditions, but certainly got everything covered at the moment.
So down through Pilgrim's Drop we go, in towards the right-hander of Surtees. McCabe just dropping back by a few tenths of a second from Mounsey on this particular lap at the sharp end. Meanwhile, further back, Lucas Brown and Alexander Rowan still going very close to one another in that battle for 3rd place. Julian Correa and Alfie Davidson, meanwhile, have changed positions in 6th place as well. Correa, the American rider, now up through into 6th place. Just looking at the gap between themselves and Evan Belford, it's now up to about 3.5 seconds or so. So let's see whether he's going to be able to close that down as the race carries on. Championship standings, you can see on the bottom right of your screen, it would be Evan Belford with a 67-point swing at the top. So, as you said here, Neil, a bit of damage limitation possibly for Belford here in this first race, and still, if it carries on as it is, he'll be extending his advantage in the championship. That's
right, and Ryan Saxby, who's run a lot of riders over in the junior championships over the years, he will have talked to him. They will have a bit of a brief before this race, tell him what he's got to do, just get a feel for things, bring it home wherever he feels comfortable, don't take any risks, and at the moment he's riding a fantastic race.
Correa there looking to the inside of Alfie Davidson at Paddock Hill Bend, not quite able to find his way through at the moment as they begin to start flirting with the white lines. Filip Sorowiak meanwhile looking for a move on Ollie Walker up through into Druids. Has he managed to get the move done on board the number 65? Well, the Polish rider does, and now it's 8th place for the taking for him. Walker there as well. Julian Correa just looking here on the back of Alfie Davidson. Another fastest lap here for Sullivan Mounsey at the sharp end, a 1:49.7. That's just about a tenth of a second or so ahead of Harley McCabe at the sharp end. The gap between the two over the timing line last time around was up to just under 3/10. So that's absolutely no gap at all, especially considering the fact that mistakes could be a little bit more prominent here in this wet weather. Just another rider that seems to be struggling in this one is Emmanuel Brinton. We saw him on the deck at the first corner in race 2 at Snetterton a fortnight ago. Now he's battling with Sislav Pilpenko, or sorry, Filip Sorowiak, I should say, rather, on board the number 75. That is in the battle for 9th place so far.
Really surprised about Brinton when he emerged this year, when he appeared this year. He looked like he was just going to go from strength to strength, and I was really surprised that he did make that mistake at Snetterton. He was looking strong throughout practice, but yeah, just maybe taking a little knock in his confidence. Maybe things not quite right in these conditions, but always best to bring it home, learn something, take it to tomorrow.
Yeah, Brinton used to racing over in Europe, competes in the European Talent Cup, lives over in Valencia. It's actually his first season in the British Talent Cup, so you wonder whether that perhaps lack of experience with the wet conditions and also the British circuits might be coming to hinder him here at this middle point in the season. Meanwhile, we're side by side up the road with Julian Correa, Alfie Davidson and Ollie Walker in the battle for 7th. Davidson there with a wider sweeping line through Paddock Bend. No problems with the front end on that Honda at the moment.
Conditions definitely changing. The rain has started again. It's coming down. You see it on the camera lens there, and there's a bit more standing water.
Means a few riders into the gravel trap there as well. Thankfully, this one up and okay. Looks like Ryan Frost it is that's gone down on the 24. His race comes to an early conclusion at the halfway point.
That's too bad. Qualified in 5th position. One of our stars of the future heading into clearways here.
Wider sweeping line down to the front.
He's just a little bit, yeah, you nailed it there. Wider sweeping line, just pulled it back across Canberra. The track change there, still a lot of pressure on the front tyre. These two are impressing me though. Sullivan Mounsey reacted. He's under a bit of pressure from Harley McCabe. He reacted with that fastest lap. He's still maintaining the gap, and I think he's increased it a little bit.
Anything you can do, I can do better, seemingly, between the top two at the moment. They're setting fastest lap after fastest lap. At the moment, it's now in the favour of McCabe, who was a 49.2. Last time around was Mounsey with a 49.4, so has decreased that deficit at the front down to just over 1/10 of a second. And as they come through in towards the sort of middle to latter stages of this race, you wonder when Harley McCabe is going to try and pounce, if he's going to be in a position to do so.
That's right, and Lucas Brown there in 3rd position, he's charging as well. He's setting some fast sectors in 3rd position, but 6.5 seconds is a gap from 2nd to 3rd at the moment. Yeah,
fresh off the back of the 2nd place in race 2 at Snetterton for Lucas Brown, so a bit of confidence for him, and seemingly looking to try and repeat that feat with a 3rd place here this afternoon. Meanwhile, we cross back to this battle for 7th with Ollie Walker, Alfie Davidson, Julian Correa, Emmanuel Brinton, Filip Sorowiak in there, as well as Reece Stevenson on the back of this one for the number 23. Great to see Reece back in the British Talent Cup. Started the year with Kilvara Projects RS Racing's team, split with them after 1 round, ended up getting a little bit injured at Knock Hill earlier on this year, and we wonder whether we might have to miss him for a couple of rounds, but
he keeps bouncing back.
He always does.
A tough season here. They're nasty off at Silverstone as well, but Reece, he's a good kid. He's tall, and he knows that, and part of the reason he wasn't comfortable beginning of the year, he just couldn't get the bike to fit him, so they're doing their own thing now, pretty much working on that bike at home, but made a bit more room for him to get stretched out. And he was one rider that was taking it to Johnny Garness, last year's championship winner, towards the end of the season, so kid with a lot of potential. He's suffered with injuries, some bad results, but he'll bounce back.
It's fun here, isn't it, looking at the circuit? You come out of Surtees, there's a massive amount of standing water. You go down through Pilgrim's Drop and there's a lot less of it. the track's evolving lap after lap here, Neil. We're coming towards the latter stage of the race. Do you think there's going to be any concern for the riders who are sort of battling here as to how far they can push that limit?
It's all seat the pants riding, and they will be getting a feel for the track. And yeah, if they're getting water on their visor, then they know that the obviously conditions could be changing. But generally, I think things are drying up, and you've got 30 bikes rolling around. It does disperse the water. The grips tends to come better as the race progresses. Just be careful on the paint there. Always makes me nervous when they're getting out that wide. But yeah, we can see lap times are tumbling. Now Rowan's fastest man on track, second man into the 48s, 48.6 on that last lap, and he's just behind Lucas Brown.
He's coming up the inside of Lucas Brown in towards Druid's Bend as well. Gets it through, but runs a little bit wide. Brown says thank you very much, repays the favour, and is now back through into third place. But you can see their confirmation of that fastest lap here for Alexander Rowan, and he is sniffing a podium here this afternoon. His best finish up until this point was 5th place in the first race at Donington Park earlier on this season. And this could be, well, it'll be so high up, he'll have a bit of a nosebleed after this race, I reckon. That was a wobble there for Lucas Brown, wasn't it?
That's going to help Rowan to get on his back wheel, his head down Pilgrim's Drop. Looks like he's going to get the drive here.
Yeah, on the run down through Pilgrim's Drop. When he think about a move up the inside into Hawthorns, well, it's a brave man who tries it, and thankfully Rowan decides that discretion is the better part of valour on this occasion. Still plenty of the race left to run, and plenty of opportunities will come the way of Alexander Rowan if he just times that move and is patient.
It's certainly not over here, and what a result if he could get a podium from 20th on the grid, the number 65.
Yeah, coming through in towards Surtees we go, then defensive line there for Lucas Brown. Rowan sniffing this opportunity as they flick it left in towards Sterling. Manages to hold on now, does Lucas Brown. Looks like he's quite good in this final sector, does Brown in particular, just getting the power down. Unfortunately, we've got a rider that's ended up on the deck. That's Harrison Mackay on board the Wilson racing machine. The bike stripped on the gravel. And the marshals tending to Harrison following that one, but yellow flag certainly will be out at a very minimum at the corner where he has gone down.
That is at Surtees as well.
Seen quite a few incidents here there this afternoon, haven't we?
Quite a lot of riders out.
While back at the front, Sullivan Mounsey and Harley McCabe still very close to one another, 0.3 of a second the gap between those two across the timing line. Lucas Brown still holds firm, meanwhile ahead of Alexander Rowan as well. Wherever you look on track, there's loads of little splinter battles that are off, and that's good to see as well for Harrison Mackay. He's walking a little bit wounded, but he's managed to walk away from that crash. Let's see what happened here.
Yeah, just tap to throttle, maybe in a lower gear. Just look, tap to throttle with a lot of revs there. Just watching Evan Belford in 5th position, fastest lap of the race, championship leader, 1:47.5, 2.5 seconds behind Rowan now, so he's closing that gap.
Yeah, Josh Bannister was the rider who we saw having to take evasive action, by the way, a few moments ago. You can see further back as well. This is Julian Correa with Rhys Stevenson, who's now managed to sort of ghost his way up the inside. And speaking of up the inside, look at Emmanuel Brinton diving to the inside.
Using every single bit of his body position and his size and stature to get that bike turned without leaning it over.
Yeah, he makes the bike look like a bit of a mini moto, does Emmanuel Brinton. He's getting on for 6 foot, and he's only, what, 16 years of age, I think he is, something like that. So he's a young lad, but he's a tall lad, and he doesn't half make these bikes look small. Yeah,
a lot like Rhys Stevenson on the Lexel machine. Belford is on absolute charge here.
Yeah, he's beginning to close the gap down now, isn't he? We're getting a bit of confidence. A 1:47.5, that was a second quicker than Rowan up the sharp, and it was 1.5 seconds quicker than Mounsey in the race lead.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on the gap here. 2.5 was the gap over the start-finish between Rowan and Belford on that last lap.
This could be a very interesting end to the race for Evan Belford. You see him there third in the picture, and he's right on the back now of Alexander Rowan and Lucas Brown, so sniffing an opportunity for a podium.
He's taking 2 seconds out of these guys on that last lap. Podium's on for Evan Belford here.
Well, if there's any man that's going to do it, you put your money on Belford, given his performances so far this season. He tries to go for the inside line there on Rowan at Druids, decides not to, and holds firm in 5th for now. You can see Alexander Rowan versus Lucas Brown in the lap comparison. Rowan there slightly faster on one of the laps, but slower overall for the rest of them. But Belford now with the bit between his teeth right when it matters in the closing stages of the race, and he is going to surely pounce on the back of Alexander Rowan, who had a little bit of a wobble there into Surtees. Is Belford going to try and go the long way around the outside through Surtees? Well, he's having a look, but he isn't quite able to get it through and make the move stick.
No, matter of time, I think. Ryan Saxby, Sean Wright have given him the perfect bike, obviously nice and steady early on, letting things get up to temperature, get a feel for things. Have really done a good job here with Evan.
Surely not, around the outside, in towards the right-hander. Can he make it through into the sheen curve? Yes, he can. Sorry, that's to Westfield even. He goes through, or no, because up the inside once again goes Alexander Rowan and holds firm for now.
Evan having a quick look round just to see if there's any threat from behind, which there isn't.
This is absolutely fantastic side-by-side action here between Rowan and between Evan Belford as they flick it through the right of sheen curve, then into the left of Sterling's. And this is just fantastic from Evan Belford and from Alexander Rowan. And if anything, it's just giving a little bit of breathing room there for Lucas Brown, who goes off onto the grass, has a look over his shoulder. That breathing room comes to nothing as Rowan picks his pocket up the inside into clearways. And now Belford sniffs an opportunity as well and goes down. The championship leader crashes out of clearways on the side of the penultimate lap. And that's a disaster for Evan Belford. 60-odd points was his advantage in the championship. It's going to be reduced now here as you see Lucas Brown to the inside of Alexander Rowan at Paddock Hill Bend. Rowan on the inside as Brown runs it a little bit wide and through into third place for the first time as well.
Well, poor old Evan Belford there. Maybe he just got a little bit excited, a little bit keen. I could see what he wanted to do.
Let's have a look and see what happens here.
52 third on the road here as he turns in here. You can see he's going to get a good run and try and pass both of these guys, but he just gets on the throttle again where the camber slightly changes there through clearways. Cracked the throttle there. He's hoping to get on it, get a nice run onto the back of these guys.
Well, that's a disaster there for Evan Belford. This is the moment that caused Neil McKenzie to jump out of his seat for Lucas Brown.
Unbelievable line. I don't think he backed off much at all. He certainly didn't lose much time, but perfect grip out there on the grass. He's done that wet's doing a great job. Yeah, a bit of motocross experience there for Lucas Brown as he is now ahead of Alexander Rowan still for third place. One more lap to go at the end of this one between these two riders. It was a three-way scrap. It's now down to a two-way tussle. And it's anybody's guess as to who's going to take this one. If anything, Lucas Brown looking like he's got a little bit more pace in this middle sector. We'll keep an eye on the lap times as they come through and across the line to start the final lap. But Rowan here looking to the inside at Sterling's. Can he make the move stick? Oh, chops the nose off there, does Lucas Brown, and stays in third for the time being. Fair play to Lucas. He wasn't given anything there, and it just shows you with Belford how close to the edge they really are. He wasn't doing a lot wrong there. He's very comfortable. He knew exactly what he was going to do, but just on the edge of that tire. And look at that. The battle for the win's not over either. No, absolutely not. So one more lap to go then here. 3.6 kilometres left of action at Brands Hatch. And there's a battle for the lead. There's a battle for the final podium places. Action wherever you look here for race one of the R&G British Talent Cup. At the moment in third, it's Lucas Brown. But here comes Alexander Rowan sniffing his first taste at silverware. To the inside at Druids Bend. Goes through, but runs it wide. Brown back through on the exit of the corner. And guys out there still setting the personal best laps on that penultimate lap. Oh, that's Reece Stevenson who's gone down as well, just on the fringes of the top 10. The Lincolnshire lad is out of the race at the start of the final lap, so no points on the board for Stevenson. Meanwhile, looks like Sullivan Mounsey's just got enough in his locker over Harley McCabe here for the lead. Can't tell who's more determined, Brown or Rowan here. They both just want this podium position so bad. Well, Brown has had one podium so far this year. That was second place at Snetterton a couple of weeks ago. Alexander Rowan, his best finish is fifth place. He is sniffing an opportunity of the podium here. It's Alexander Rowan. He's really strong in this final sector. Can he invent something as they come through in towards the right-hander? He's definitely going to have a go. He's going to have a lunge somewhere, I'm convinced. Yeah, it's going to be surely into Sterling Bend. That's where he looks really strong as they come through in towards the sheen curve. Through that long sweeping right-hander, carries good momentum here, does Alexander Rowan. He's going to go to the inside of Lucas Brown. And for third place, Alexander Rowan up the inside. Now, can he hold the line? No, he can't. He's off onto the curb on the exit of the corner. And Brown goes back through. It's going to be a run through the final series of turns here for them as Sullivan Mounsey makes it an absolutely superb victory. He comes across the line. Magic Mounsey takes his second win of 2023 ahead of Harley McCabe. It's a drag to the line for third though between Lucas Brown and Alexander Rowan, and Rowan gets it on the line. Fantastic, 69,000
thousandths of a second. Alexander Rowan takes it over Lucas Brown, his first podium of 2023 in the RNG British Talent Cup. Ollie Walker is going to finish in 5th place for the Vision Track Racing team as well. That's his best result of 2023 so far, and certainly since he moved over to the Vision Track team mid-season as well, ahead of Julian Correa, Alfie Davidson, Emmanuel Brinton, Philip Sorobiak, and then Ben Jalif is going to complete the top 10.
That was a well-calculated move for Alexander Rowan. He was patient, he went to the outside, he went to the left-hand side as Lucas Brown went to the inside, and he knew if he could pull it back, he would get the drive, he would get underneath him and he would get to the line first. Classic passing manoeuvre at the last turn here at Brands Hatch, so very well executed.
What a ride from Sullivan Mounsey, though, his 2nd win of the season for Magic Mounsey. Great result for him here in the wet at Brands. Well, catch a breath after that one. The rain sort of ebbed and flowed over the course of that, and penny for the thoughts of this man here, Evan Belford. So much promise, so much potential. Unfortunately, it came to nothing.
He was playing it perfectly. He was really patient. He didn't take any chances. He let everything get up to speed. He let everything get up to temperature, and he was really getting a nice rhythm going there, setting fastest laps. Closed in on the gap, definitely was on for a podium, and then yeah, just got a little bit too keen. I think he would easily finish 3rd position if he could have just kept things upright. But yeah, uncharacteristic mistake for Evan Belford. He's been in such good form in every condition over the last few rounds. So yeah, lost a few points there, but there's always tomorrow.
Yep. Of course, that is the beauty of the RNG British Talent Cup. 2 races over the course of this weekend here. What a great ride also from Harley McCabe as well. That's only, unbelievably, his 2nd podium finish of 2023. He's been in the front group so much that I was sure he stood on the podium a couple more times, but it is only his 2nd visit to the box, and he will be absolutely delighted with that. Something to smile about going into Sunday. Great ride also from Alexander Rowan as well. Let's have a look at this drag to the line between himself and Lucas Brown.
Yeah, the number 65 there. He went in there behind Brown, and obviously came out in front. But he was just patient. He's really well calculated, perfect manoeuvre, classic pass.
Well, Sullivan Mounsey then with his 2nd visit to the top step of the podium as he comes back into Parc Ferme. He'll be delighted with that. As we said earlier on this in the race, he's had really, really strong pace all this season, in the wet and in the dry as well. And it doesn't matter what you seem to throw at him in the conditions, he always manages to keep himself up the sharp end. Great ride from Harley McCabe as well, and Alexander Rowan, you can see the delight of the team, and I think he's down there in Parc Ferme as well. But I imagine the smile will not be wider than this man, Sullivan Mounsey, for his 2nd win of the season.
Sullivan Mounsey. I've done some riding with your dad in some sketchy conditions back in the old fast bikes days, but you made riding in the rain there look easy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. I was trying to push and I was pushing, just kept chipping away at my lap time, and I knew I could do it. And then I saw I had a gap to Harley, so I backed off a tad. And then as I was getting through the race, I was like, right, okay, there's no point risking it, as I then lost the front in 30. So it was a bit like, right, let's back off. And then he caught me up. So I was a bit like, right, okay, let's keep motoring away. But no, it was a fantastic race. And you know what it was? I had a Red Bull before I went out. Or half Red Bull, but anyway, as I say, a sip. But anyway, that made all the difference, and I just like to say a massive thank you to JNS, Shark Helmets, Frank Thomas, and everyone that's there with me. For instance, Madison Media, as this has just been such a massive, massive step this season. Especially Ian Gardner, Gary Wilson, and Rebecca. They've made some massive steps, and this is what's brought out the new Smooth Sully.
Well, I'd take a full can tomorrow if I was you and get out there and do the same again in race 2.
Sounds like that's what I'll be doing.
Well done, mate.
Thank you.
I've got to admire Sullivan Mounsey's confidence. What a great result for Magic Mounsey here this afternoon. The irony is he's probably old enough to drink it, but he's still going to get ID when he goes and buys it in the shops.
Whatever it takes, it's certainly working. So yeah, I'll look forward to full can tomorrow, see what he does then.
Yeah, great ride from Sullivan Mounsey. He made that one look easy, didn't he? Harley McCabe, just 0.2 of a second it was the difference between the two when the checkered flag came out. Quite unbelievably how close it was between the two, but Mounsey just did not relent under pressure there. And I love his confidence as well when he was talking to Shaky there.
Yeah, he's great. He's such a great character, and yeah, I could listen to him all day because he's got something to say. And yeah, it's not the usual kind of name the sponsor. He really does it in a great fashion. And other energy drinks are available, especially the one that's sponsoring this meeting.
Well, riders making their way onto the podium. There is Alexander Rowan, who's going to have a face that's going to be smiling as wide as the circuit here at Brands Hatch following his first podium of the season. Harley McCabe with his second visit to the rostrum in 2023. Delight for the number 7. And Sullivan Mounsey with a second win of 2023. What a fantastic result for him. Can he repeat the feat, though, here tomorrow afternoon? That's the question, and we can look forward to finding out the answer when we go racing for the second race of the weekend for the R&G British Talent Cup. Let's hope for slightly drier conditions for the riders as well. Highlights then from the first race of the R&G British Talent Cup saw 2 riders missing from the second row of the grid due to a variety of reasons. It was Evan Belford who started on pole position, but Sullivan Mounsey from the third row of the grid managed to get himself up the inside and through to the race lead. Following him through was Harley McCabe as well, and that became the battle at the front. Unfortunately, we saw a few riders hitting the deck in the tricky conditions, including Harrison Mackay on board the other Wilson racing bike. There was drama as well for Lucas Brown as he went off the track, and then Evan Belford, championship leader, crashing out at Clearways, a high side through the final corner. Drama for him as Lucas Brown got himself ahead of Alexander Rowan for third place. Sullivan Mounsey took the win from Harley McCabe, and it was a drag to the line for third, with Alexander Rowan just managing to get the better of Lucas Brown for his first visit of the rostrum for the 2023 season. But it's Magic Mounsey on top here this afternoon for race 1.